Hey, in this video, I'm going to share with you 6 ways to quickly begin increasing your savings without feeling like you have to live some sort of a meager existence today in order to be happy one day tomorrow. Because let's be real, we want to be happy today and happy tomorrow. There's lots of rhetoric out there on the internet that'll have you thinking that you got to live in some sort of a cave with no electricity in order to save for the future. But let's be real, that's not that realistic. So instead, let's figure out ways to cut back without feeling like we're cutting back. Let's go. Number 1 is to create a high value on saving and investing. Dr. John Demartini, one of the world's foremost authorities on human behavior, whom you'll probably hear me talk about a lot, says that every human being has an unconscious set of values, a hierarchy, if you will. In other words, the things that they value most in life to the things that they value least in life, kind of like a list of priorities. And every single day we set out into the world and we begin adhering to those values. The fact is, if we don't value saving and investing, then we will always sabotage our wealth, our future wealth, for something else that we value more. That's why people say that I want to, I wish I could, I'd like to, but they don't actually do it. Instead, they sabotage or they procrastinate, and then they beat themselves up because they're not actually achieving their goals. Let's dive into number 2. Number 2 is to stop impulse buying. You know how you're scrolling through social media at times and you think, oh my God, I was just looking for one of those. Or, man, I just thought about that last night. It's like it's reading my mind. Well, here's the fact, is that all of these platforms are using advanced algorithms to predict our future behavior based on our previous online behavior from the past. In fact, these algorithms are getting so good, oftentimes they predict our future behavior before we even know what we're gonna do next. And so it's triggering these dopamine, centers in our brain that want us to experience the joy of buying. Because let's be real, we're all drug addicts.
Did he just say I'm a drug addict?
And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that we're all addicted to the chemicals that are released in our brains and our bodies that create certain emotions, right? So science tells us that in the buying process, there's a dopamine fix that comes along with that gives us the pleasure of buying. But in actuality, what science finds is that it's the anticipation of buying that creates the dopamine fix, not the actual purchase itself. That's why we also get buyer's remorse. It's the drawback or the withdrawal symptom from that lack of dopamine post-purchase. So in other words, we can get just as much excitement without actually spending the money. So the next time that you find yourself on a website about to check out and for a product that you just found 5 minutes ago, put the phone down. In fact, I do this all the time today. If I find something that I think that I like, what I do is I set it aside and I think about it for a couple of days. If a couple of days later or a week later, I still feel like having it, oftentimes I'll treat myself to it. But you'll be amazed at how many things that you think that you actually want, and a couple of days later, you can't even remember what it was. So this alone has saved me tons of money, and it can save you quite a bit as well. Number 3 is to convert the purchase price into energy cost. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're about to buy something for $60 on your favorite website and you make $20 an hour at your job, let's say, well then that purchase represents 3 hours of your time. Is it still worth 3 hours of your time? When you think about it like this, consider the fact that that money that you spend, it can always be replaced, but the time that you spend will never be replaced. In fact, it's likely the only thing in life that we have that we can't ever get back once it's gone. So when you think about it in those terms, would it be really worth you spending an extra 3 hours of your life in order to acquire that thing? And if not, well then it's probably not worth having, right? So the next time that you're on that checkout page thinking about buying something, ask yourself, if this were costing me X amount of hours of my time, would I still be willing to go after it and do it? If yes, then maybe it's worth it. If not, then it's definitely not worth it. Number 4, move the money that you save into your actual savings. What do I mean by that? Well, consider some of the previous examples. If you're sitting on that checkout page and you decide, I'm not going to impulse buy, I'm going to set this aside, and a couple of days later you realize that you really didn't need that thing that you were going to spend 25 bucks on, well then don't lie to yourself and say, I saved 25 bucks by not buying that thing. No, that's an illusion that we tell ourselves that makes us feel good without actually doing the thing that's going to feel good, right? And when we go to websites and we get, oh look, I got a discount of $500. I just saved $500 on this purchase. No, you didn't. Not until you actually put that into your savings. So, in other words, when you save money, well, actually save it. Actually convert it over to your savings account. As an example, just recently I was out at a business dinner with 3 other friends of mine. And before that dinner, I planned on paying. So I figured it would probably cost us about $400 for dinner that evening. At the end of the evening, one of my colleagues that I had brought to dinner and I had invited to dinner, he ended up catching the bill. Well, when I got home, because I had already planned on spending $400 on that dinner, which I know sounds like an egregious amount, but when I got home, I took that $400 that I planned on spending and I actually moved it over to my savings account so that I will eventually invest it and let that $400 grow in the future. So the next time that you save money by not spending something that you were perfectly comfortable with spending, or the next time that somebody catches the bill at lunch or dinner that you thought you were gonna have to catch, well then actually go save that money, set it aside for future investments. Number 5, and this is closely related to our previous, and this is to actually automate your savings. So in other words, if we have to rely on our own behavior to do it, well, we're gonna be subject to impulse and emotion. In other words, if you tell yourself every week, I'm gonna save X amount of dollars, well, when you actually go to manually do that, isn't it interesting that there's always some sort of an expense that pops up, some sort of an activity that you want to do, or something else that comes along that makes you feel like, oh, but I really want to go do this instead. And that's because we get our emotions involved. So instead, find a way to automate your savings. In fact, your bank account might have the ability for you to just move money over to a sub account on a regular basis. Or perhaps you can take some sort of investing app or platform that you're using and automatically move money into it every week on an automated basis so that you never even have to think about it. Now, as an added suggestion, I would suggest that this be only about 10% of your weekly earnings because, and the reason for this is that Dr. John Demartini, that guy that I mentioned earlier, also says that we can only handle, as human beings, we can only handle about a 10% fluctuation in our environment without stirring up our emotions. And as Warren Buffett says, if we can't manage our emotions, we can't manage money. So the minute that our emotions get involved, we tend to sabotage these things. And so instead of setting aside some number that's going to cause you to be worried or anxious all the time, just take simple 10% of what you earn on a weekly basis and have that automatically set aside to go into a savings or investment account on an automated basis so that you never have to think about it and you never have to miss it. And you'll be surprised how that compounds over time and without you even thinking about it. And number 6 is to convert your purchase into an opportunity cost. What I mean by that is that every time that we're about to spend money today, oftentimes we only think about the money that's being spent, but not the opportunity cost of spending that money, not the things that we have to give up in order to spend that money. Here's an example. When my online business was first taken off, one night my girlfriend and I, we went out to dinner. At that dinner, we spent about $100 on dinner, which at the time was a lot for me because I had never really had that kind of money growing up. And my business was finally doing well. Well, when we were leaving dinner that night, I remember telling my girl, babe, do you realize how much money that dinner cost? And she said, yeah, it was about $100. I said, no, actually, it was about $500. She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, for every dollar that I spend in advertising right now for my business, I'm making about $5 back. But now I'm not going to spend that $100 on advertising for the business. So yeah, it cost us $100, but it also cost me $500 in future earnings. To which she said, that's a really good point, babe. Keep that in mind the next time that we go out to dinner. Because thankfully, she was on my side. She had my back and wanted to see us save more money. So maybe you have a business and you can convert it into terms like that. And even if you don't, well, what if you took that money that you were going to spend today and you were to just invest it passively and let it ride for the next 3 to 5 years? Potentially, that $100 could become another $300 or $500 in the future. Well, when you think about it like that, would you pay that same amount of money for that thing that you absolutely want, that you feel like you absolutely want to buy today? If not, well then it makes life simple. If I'm not willing to give up the future opportunity that this money could afford me, then why should I give up that opportunity today in this moment? So if you convert to your future opportunity cost or some other opportunity cost, you'll often realize that you're giving up something greater that you could have by making this impulsive decision today to spend the little bit that it might be costing you right here in the moment. So those are some tips. Hopefully you got some value out of that. My name is Keala Kanae, and every week I'm releasing content on how to create more success in your life and your business. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Drop a comment, click like, subscribe, join the Bell Squad, and I'll see you down the road.